Well, we're finally here, folks, at the final episode of Season 1 of The Big Picture, as you can see. And we have interviewed everybody from ambassadors to actresses, from politicians to police officers, talking about big picture issues in every sector that we've touched. And it's been a great series of conversations. I hope you've been following at home, wherever you are. And so for this final episode of Big Picture Season 1, we decided to do a best of. So here are our first picks of the best of the best of the Big Picture Season 1. Enjoy.
What I kept saying in 2017, I shouldn't see a lawyer discussing a number. because you don't expect me to discuss the acts and the laws. And so if when you look at in the US or in Europe, those newsrooms that call elections, they have an entire team of statisticians.
The song was created at a very dingy place in Dandora. We were very, very, very frustrated as two people who had a hit song out, but we couldn't find our way through into our future. And I remember, although we were talented, while in Dandora, we sang to save our lives.
You hear it in their voices. It's actually about them. Now, what made it cut across, even for generations, enough for my then 64-year-old mother to ask, what are they saying about Tomboya? So they were able to break through because of some of the features of that song. And one of the key features of that song is precisely that roll call of people they identify as great, and even the audacity with which they included Okach Bigi and Julie Dunia Mbaya. And that was part of also their aspiration, saying, you know, musicians may not be thought of as worthwhile people, but we put them up there on the pantheon of people who have done something for this country.
Even when the violence is happening, they're still like, yes, we must speak, we must sing.
It's kind of like the Titanic.
Exactly. That's when you realize, by the way, we are really good at finding coping mechanisms.
Man. Because you should have seen those guys who are doing it with even more gusto.
What are your pains? As a person, najua unga iko juu, najua mafuta iko juu. So that's what I'm going for. So when you go for that, that's the truth. Nikisema unga imeisha, na kuna nini, na ni bei kali, nimedanganya. So once I speak the truth, because the worst thing will be, because comedy, kuna different types of comedy. So I'd be able to create a fictures, fiction, whatever. But this one, I'm talking about things that they're already there.
For the first time, you had some of the grassroots saying, the cost of this unga and what you guys are doing with my money is becoming a problem.
Agriculture is going to be the biggest thing in the next 10 years. Big. Because Africa,
not just here.
Not just here, because Africa has 65% of the arable land globally. We can feed Europeans, we can feed Asians, and they have tried to come here to say, let's work together to produce for our people at home.
We have now just commissioned our first farm. So 650 hectares, fully irrigated in Taveta, fully irrigated. And the thing is that just because of the intensity of the farming that we have there, by October we'll be supplying about 30% of Nairobi's onions and about 5% of Kenya's production in tomatoes.
What is going to be sexy going forward is food security. I mean, if there is no food, you would find the Sri Lankan thing happening here. How do we get food secure? You know, we are undermining food security in this country on a daily basis. By what? By land subdivision.
I very strongly recommend becoming what I call creative in your, and Kenyans are creative anyway, but creating, the whole side hustle movement is going to go into high gear. But even as it goes into high gear, I mean, for example, if you've got this, the government focusing on agriculture. Right now, challenge every Kenyan. Start thinking, go back to that manifesto and look and say, what is the government going to be doing in agriculture? And that little piece of land I have there, especially if I can aggregate with others, what can we do with it now?
The effect of having high
energy prices, and particularly high fuel prices, is there's a knock-on effect into the economy. There is a ripple effect where people will not be able to make ends meet. The cost of living will go up. Inflationary pressures will then hit government. So it's imperative for government to take active steps. And in our experience and what we've seen happening all over the world during this crisis, which again I'll say is not a Kenya specific problem, but a global problem, is governments have stepped in to be able to cushion their populace.
What should we be telling them? By the way, the minute you are sworn in, you need to start working on this.
I think immediately is the cost of living, but immediately we have to move into social policy, in my view. I think both of them, one or another, have talked about this. When I mean social policy,
just define it again for people who might not have caught it, because I think earlier you had referred to it as policy analysis.
Yeah.
Social policy. What does that actually mean?
So, so for the last 20 years, Kenya's policy posture has really been around big infrastructure.
Yeah.
So, SGR, the Nairobi
Road Superhighway.
Exactly. Superhighway, Nairobi Expressway.
Galana Kulalu.
Exactly. And the government posture then was, to industrialize. We have a lot of research came at that time. There was an infrastructure gap that Africa was facing.
Yeah.
So the last 20 years, we have seen Kenya doing a lot of that. But we have come to the end of that policy posture. Now we have to move to social policy where the Kenyan is at the center of policy. Meaning, what we're saying here is that now the question we're asking is that how do we improve the well-being of the Kenyan?
We are not here to be just thrown left, right, and center as women. We are here also to be part of the discussion and making decisions around the politics of this country, because it matters to us. It matters to us when you're seeing women struggling day in, day out to raise kids, and then there's no opportunity to support them.
What I want to see generally is an informed youth, a youth that knows what their rights are, what she was talking about, the rights of arrested. Most of us don't know, and that's why we get even violated further. You've been arrested for maybe being in some place that you shouldn't have been, but can you speak up for yourself? Can you explain yourself? Can you say, okay, then if this is my offense, what is requested of me? Because sometimes you're asked to pay money while you can even offer community service. If we understand what direction we can take with what happens in different situations, then we are empowered. And that means we can not only stand for ourselves, but we can also stand for others. And over time, we don't need to be, martyrs for others, but rather be our own self-sustaining individual and active citizens.
We must stop waiting for NGOs to come and do this work for us. It has to be that we, at every point we interact with the public service, tell them, game over. You do it. You are here to be a public
servant.
Now, our goal here at The Big Picture has always been to provide you with really, really insightful information from the interviews that we've done. And that, we believe, we delivered on. Here are some of the best picks of some of the most insightful things that some of our guests have said in this first season of The Big Picture.
I think one of the easiest ways to reach the young people is through social media. It's a huge tool, it's a huge platform. And I think once we use it effectively, we will be able to reach more and more young people so that we can be able to drive this message home. And what are the things that young people love? The youth are interested in sport, the youth are interested in entertainment, the youth are interested in things that bring them together, activities that bring them together, so that they can be able to express themselves through different art forms. Why can't we be able to use those? Why can't we be able to use those platforms in order for us to spread the message? I mean, we run different campaigns. We run different campaigns in this country which are effective. We run campaigns based on healthcare issues, we run campaigns based on various other issues, and we make sure that we get to the youth. Why does it happen? Why is it that when it comes to politics, we're unable to reach people, to share about civic education, or to teach people or to educate people about civics? It's because it's designed, it's by design, it's structured.
And the politician will not allow an objective youth to ascend to power unless the youth bends into the oligarch system.
We did not get changes to the constitution because we voted in a better president. You know, I would argue that in 2002, at the sort of tail end of Moi's regime, is when Kenya had sort of a real sense of freedom. And that wasn't from the beneficence of Moi, so that he was a nice guy. You know, we pushed it, you know, we struggled, we changed things. These sorts of discussions 30 years ago were unthinkable. You couldn't have had them. You know, we created that space. It's not a gift from politicians. And I think that if we keep that in mind, then we can say, what is it that we want? You know, and push for that, demand that.
Yes, there's that voters' apathy, but I feel we were never engaged. And that's why for me, I usually feel that even for this kind of election, it's important for us young people to be able to hold them into account even for the next coming government, that we are here, we exist, and we matter.
The good thing about digitalization is that all these problems that we've had of corruption would actually end. You can actually see where the money came from, and but as I said, the risk is that bad governments would actually end up harassing some citizens.
Harassing good people or people who are trying to do better.
In a Kenyan context, when you're asked why you're doing this, the answer is two things. Because either God says it, or because we're from the same tribe. We have to break that culture.
We have to also bring such conversations into the mainstream space. For example, our good example is our former CJ, William Tunga, who was for a very long time put on a spotlight because of his...
The stud.
But that didn't change how he was, he had intended to work, and he did a lot of good work, and that shows us that simple profiling is also a systematic thing that, you know, divides us. When we do dreadlocks in Eastlands, what's the difference with dreadlocks in Uptown? Why would you assume that a dreadlocked youth in Eastland is automatically carrying bang and not the other one from the other side? So it's a form of inequality and narrative that is pushed by a particular set of people, also to keep us, you know, entangled in confrontations.
If you stay home and sulk for being fired or losing the job, you would end up depressed. Depression leads to other diseases, and you lose your life for nothing.
When we talk about sexual assaults and when we talk about intermarriage violence, there's a sensitization to it. It's too easy to watch. Whereas if it was happening right in front of you, it wouldn't be so easy. And that's something I've always wanted. I've always wanted to show those acts happening as they do in real life. They're ugly and they're grotesque, and they're not easy to watch, and they're not easy to digest.
Most of the young people that are locked up in prisons, the offenses they committed, it's due to gender-based violence. You know, if we can sensitize the public on gender-based violence, I think we'll also be able to prevent these youth from engaging themselves because I've been at the station many a times, and a young kid would walk into the station and she's like, I don't want to go back home. So you wonder what you're supposed to do with them. When you ask them whether they have got their parents, they say yes. And sometimes there are those who say, I want to be with dad, I don't want to be with the mom. And the reasons they give is that mom is always drunk. Or sometimes they say, dad comes home and he beats up mom, you know. And then parents also, I wouldn't say that they have failed, but I think parents should create some time to, you know, interact with the kids. These kids know much that we really don't know.
Njugush ni humble manzi, anakulaga ugali na matumbo. tunapenda kuromanticize hiyo. Kumbe ni dosi na anashindaga hapa kwa base tukikula naye githeri. People like that.
Yes.
But when you start ukikuja na like yes, I'll still eat there, but ukikuja na gari because of ABCD hakuna parking, so I can't park there. So ndambia ule msee nipatilie matumbo yangu, bado nakudai matumbo. Alafu niende Njugush akoende huko aliringa. So people want you ukae hapa. So people want you tukae nawe hapa.
A lot of people who retire from public service, those who had a lot of power, actually I found out they die within 3 years. Depression and other things. But what people must learn from that is that pick up whatever that you have and then move on.
When you sing from a position of your pain, let me give you an example. I hope you all know the song Something Inside So Strong. Labi Sifra. It's been sung by many other people. What a lot of people don't know is that that song was inspired and was actually about his own experience of being a black gay man in London and how difficult it was for him to feel any degree of acceptance. But because it was so general in its message of exclusion in terms of the lyrics, it was captured for the South African freedom movement. And that thing about, you know, I will break your barriers. The barriers can be any barriers. And that's the thing about a powerful political song, a powerful protest song, is that it can be applied to any situation.
Everybody should be digitally literate. Everybody. Everybody, because I see people at the airport, you know, they have begun to deploy those machines where you self-check-in, and you see people giving the wide berth going to a human,
or asking one of the people
to come and help them. The assumption is that everybody understands what they are doing, and we are going into, people like conveniences. I say digitalization gives conveniences. Everything is being digitalized. And see how much e-citizen has helped. That you apply for your passport at home, pay for it. You don't pay money to go to Nyairo house, come back again and go another day to check whether it's ready. It has improved productivity. It has improved the cost of doing business. And it's going to continue. But you must carry everybody. In order to carry everybody, you must have what we call digital literacy at all levels.
Private enterprise can actually move a country forward. So the key thing for us is how do we have more people in private sector doing things? And if we then coalesce around and go back to government with a joint voice, government at some point will have to listen.
Now folks, misinformation, disinformation, fake news, if you will, is a part of everybody's life across the world, and it's affected us here at home as well as everywhere on the continent. But here on The Big Picture, we've been doing something special with our show. Every episode, every single one, has a segment that runs through the entire show and entire themes that we've been able to cover, and that's fact-checking. Our team of fact-checkers from Piga Firimbi have been on set here with me, delivering some really insightful and really important fact-checks, as well as tips on how to not get sucked in to some of the misinformation and disinformation that's out there. Here now are some of the best fact-checks that we've covered in Season 1 of The Big Picture.
We have an abundance of information. We actually have a term for it, Amid, and it's mid-information. Like there's not enough information for you to draw a conclusion. And this happens a lot in situations where there's an information vacuum, and then when there's a lot of questions about the credibility of the people who are saying these things. In addition to that, there's some information that is being included that would be considered like private. So that also brings in the aspect of malinformation. So it's not false, but it's not information that's meant to be put out in the public.
Apparently, there's something that you tweeted, Njugush, that ina cause drama sana na tuko na evidence, and I'd like for Nyakerario here, who is our fact checker, kutuambia what is going on.
This is a tweet I created from your account.
Walai?
Yes. I just copied everything. The only thing I missed, which was deliberate, is this blue tick. because you are a household name.
These platforms are not being built for the social good. They're not being built so that like we're able to connect with long lost friends and all these other things. That's just that's an additional feature.
But wasn't that the origin story? Or my college sweetheart, see her 10 years from now, or she's put on a little weight. That's the origin story.
That was the origin, yes.
But what are they today? What are they made for today?
What they're doing now is they are finding ways to monetize every aspect of you.
So these links are majorly sent on email.
Yes.
So the first red flag is when you're not the first to initiate the conversation, but they actually send you a link to apply for work.
Completely uninitiated.
Yes. But they are the ones who spark the conversation between you two. That's something to look out for.
Red flag number one.
Red flag number one.
Okay.
Number two, if there are grammatical errors in the text.
So apparently, this is an appreciation token. So this link claims that if you click on it, you're going to get 20,000 for everyone.
Wow.
Kuambia shukrani, kwa kunipigia kura, and all that. But I feel that as Piga Firimbi, we've done a lot of such links.
Yeah.
We all understand how much debt we have as a country. And 20,000 for everyone.
There's absolutely no way.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But people are desperate for money. People don't have money.
Yeah.
So they'll expect such money.
And I'm seeing that you're supposed to fill in a form.
Yes.
For these grants.
For these grants. So your first name, your last name, your phone number, email, city, all that.
Is that the con?
Now this is where they collect your data.
I'm referring to the fact check that just happened, that there was a time there was a police officer. It was a picture that was also doctored and was circulating, that there was a police officer in dreadlocks in AP uniform before AP was disbanded, and that caused a lot of tension. But when we fact checked, because I think the trainings that we've gone through with Amnesty and other organizations have taught us how to look at info. It was a doctored Photoshop.
Ukweli, uongo.
Ukweli.
So what we have on the screen right now is an opinion poll. So just look at it keenly and tell us whether it's an actual opinion poll or if it's been manipulated.
From what I've been seeing, I have a feeling that the gap is not that big.
Okay. Is she right?
Interesting, yeah. You're actually right.
Fact checking is very useful, but once you start fact checking what the government is doing. For example, they've told us they're going to give us 50 billion every year, right? That should be in every one of you. I'm talking to the young people around this room. You should tomorrow find out where that 50 billion is going to be and what's the process for getting it. And if whatever they tell you, don't believe it until you verify it yourself. Go and ask which office. Get a phone number.
Who is the person?
Who is the person you're talking to?
We've noticed a flurry of opinion polls over the past 2 weeks as we edge closer to the elections. This is one of them that we debunked on the 25th of July. It's a poll that was supposedly released by a station that we all know, but it's fake. It shows fake statistics, and this was not released by the said publication.
And misinformation, disinformation, malinformation at this point in time is doing so much to ruin such a good opportunity for members of the public to really engage with their democracy, engage with their politics.
The pattern of misinformation initially that we'd seen, at least in 2013 and 2017, was attacking the candidates directly. But this one tended to be much more sophisticated. It was trying to get people to lose trust in the institution.
That's a very observant thing that you just said. We read for context. We don't read to read to show me what is in front of us. We read for context, and that's how a lot of people wanapitwa na fake news.
The clip claims to show that during this event at the Smithsonian Gallery in the US,
so it's a prestigious museum.
Yes. Former First Lady Michelle Obama was unveiling a portrait of Martha Karua. Well, it sounds believable because, as you've said, woman to woman support. But this clip was first circulated in February 2018. Yes, and Raila unveiled Martha Karua as his running mate in 2022 on May 16th. Then, similarly, on the same event at the Smithsonian Gallery on the same day, Barack Obama also unveiled his own portrait done by Kehinde Wiley. Here, it claims that Barack, unveiled a portrait of William Ruto, supporting his candidacy for the 2022 elections. Man to man. Sounds believable, but it's not true. All these images have been doctored. They were all, the original images are from February 12th, 2018.
If you present someone with something that speaks to their biases, they're much less likely to doubt it, and they're much more likely to spread it. If, for example, I am pro one particular coalition, and I see false information that is saying something good about my coalition, or it says something bad about the other, I'm much more likely to spread it than something that says something positive about the coalition that is not the one that I support.
So if you're out there and you receive something that you're not certain about, stop, check, verify.
I'm so nervous. I don't know.
Nice.
Oh my God!
Yeah?
Oh my
you like
God!
It? Show everybody. Like,
oh my God! Yeah? You're so good!
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. My eyes are getting older, so I should hide it from my wife.
That looks a little bit like someone that you know.
Yeah. No, thanks a lot.
Down to the salt and pepper.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Just our way of saying thank you very much.
This is for the wall?
Yes, it's going to be on the wall, but we'll also give you a copy as well. Our friend Louis over here has been taking a look at you.
Oh, that was fast.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. So
this is very cool. Oh, that's me.
Yeah. This is me.
Everyone has a name.
About it.
That's really cool, yeah.
That's really cool, yeah. Hey, Tom, he got you. He got you really good. Even you, Tracy. Wow. Look at your two rosy cheeks.
and the eyes.
Yeah, and the eyes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is
Louis,
nice.
Our caricature artist has been doing this. So this is both of you. All right. We'll send you guys a copy.
Nice.
Just turn it. You can turn it around for the camera too. Yeah. Just to say that you guys were on the big picture.
For sure.
Yeah. You guys are tickled by this thing, eh?
I used to think I'm a handsome guy.
Well, now for posterity, you're up there.
He got my neck right. You don't have such a long neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's you, right? Thank you very much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is so beautiful. You got my neck right, my big eyes.
Yeah,
my big head and my big hair on the big picture.
I've said this all season, it's been an incredible honor and pleasure hosting season 1 of The Big Picture, as well as interviewing all of these people on our wall of honor. I mean, we've had Njugush here, Njambee, Koikai, Wohoro, Ndoho, Daniel, Kiptoo, all sorts of people from all walks of life. And of course, we've had you listening and watching. Now, if you like someone who you think has great insights and would be well placed in good company on the Big Picture Wall of Honor, just write to us in the comments below. Also, you could tell us what your favorite moments were from season 1. Now, I have to say goodbye, but before I do, I want to say a huge thanks to our crew, from Overture Media Agency to Africa Uncensored's own crew, the crew at Piga Firimbi. A large debt of gratitude also goes to the man who is responsible in large part for our Wall of Honor, Mr. Louis Alosa. Come on up, you receive your flowers.
Yes. Because you've been the one handing over the drawings.
Yeah. Thank you. I finally received my... Folks, I didn't know I had a gap tooth, but the beard's good, in the forehead as well. Yeah. Thank you very much, Louis. It's been a real pleasure and great work, of course. You can follow Louis on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. He's everywhere, as are we, Africa Uncensored. On Twitter, @AF Uncensored. On Facebook, Africa Uncensored. On TikTok even, Africa Uncensored.
as well as Instagram. We're all over the shop, folks. Pick a social media platform that you like. We're there. Subscribe to our work. We're also on Patreon. So if you want to become a patron, please go ahead and support the work of incredible, investigative, and in-depth work. Not just here on The Big Picture, but on all of the content that we have. It's been a real pleasure, a real honor hosting Season 1 of The Big Picture. Let's do it again, even bigger, even better in Season 2. Cheers, folks. Bye-bye.